Stock in focus now is Tata Power. We have Anil Sardana, MD and CEO of Tata Power, now joining us. Mr. Sardana, good morning. Thanks a lot for joining us. Before we talk about some other important issues, I just wanted to clarify on this Welspun deal, because we believe that this could be under the scanner. Is that right?
Good morning. I would only add to say that it's a very highly speculative news. Tata Sons is just one floor away. We haven't heard anything from them. And I don't see there is anything of this nature being talked about. It will be better for you to check base with Tata Sons. Okay. I would only add, just for the benefit of our stakeholders, that our spokesman has already clarified that this deal is very value accretive and that absolutely squeaky clean transaction that we have seen, like the way we always do in Tata's. And therefore, and we have been now operating these assets for 9 months. As regards the valuation, it's very clear that all the deals that have happened in those times, as also subsequently, in fact, there was a very large deal that has happened just about a few weeks before. And all of them are much higher in valuation compared to what our deal was. So therefore, we're very happy with the transaction. And I guess as regards your inquiry on the news, it will be better to ask others.
Okay, we'll certainly do that, Mr. Sardana. Good morning and thank you for joining us. Just to take the point on renewable power and the recent deals you're referring to, the PPAs are getting struck at lower and lower levels, 2 rupees 40 paise, 2 rupees 50 paise. At these levels, will legacy plants like yours have a problem? Will new PPAs have to be struck at lower levels?
Good morning, Lata. As regards the PPAs, it's been now clarified over and over again that these were all stuck at a point where the capital cost of executing those projects was high. And therefore, a PPA is a contract. And in fact, that same thing applied to our Mundra case. And therefore, it will apply to all renewables, that the PPAs as were stuck earlier will have to stay course because they were all executed at higher capital costs. Today, when the cost of funding and the capital costs have lowered down, there are bidders who are quoting at good prices, which is good for discoms and good for consumers.
No, that's a fair point, sir. I'm just how the Welspun renewables projects, your PPAs are for how long?
All PPAs are for 25 years, out of which close to about 2 to 3 years would have elapsed, and therefore we still have about 20 to 22 years in different locations. And the later PPAs are, of course, at lower prices. And the PPAs that we did at the earlier times, including Tata Power, the renewables that we executed in Gujarat or in Karnataka or in Tamil Nadu, they were all at higher prices because at that time the capital costs were higher. And they will have to go through their life term.
Okay. Mr. Sardana, morning. I wanted to talk a little bit more about Mundra. With the Supreme Court disallowing the compensatory tariff for that fuel cost under recoveries, how will you now look to improve the operating efficiency at Mundra in order to contain the losses? What would the options be?
So the losses that we have in Mundra is on account of under recovery of fuel. And it is for that reason that we are attempting to find answers to that fuel. Though, of course, if you recall, when we had done this bidding, at that time, Tata Power also acquired the mines in Indonesia. So when you look at the hedged concept that we had with Mundra and the KPC mine, the two put together today don't suffer as much loss as is being talked about. But when it comes to Mundra, we are trying to simulate a situation by virtue of which we are able to get coal so that we don't see much under recovery. As also we are exploring still the legal options because, as you know, Supreme Court gave a very good leeway in terms of powers of the regulator under Section 79, and we are trying to therefore explore whether we can go back to CRC. The reason why the previous CRC order, which was favorable, could not be applied is because EPTEL had set aside that order. And there is therefore opinion that we can go back to CRC and once again seek a similar order under Section 79.
So what would the range of options be as far as sourcing of coal is concerned, and would you also be looking at, blending of coal to optimize costs?
That exercise has already started. In fact, between the time the Supreme Court order came and today, we have already sourced distressed assets. We have signed up contracts which are at lower prices than the price that is prevailing in the open market. We are therefore looking at all options, and that process is already set in. We will use blended options. We will use options of getting distressed cargo from areas where perhaps the Europeans and many others are not lifting the coal. Okay. And therefore, that will be at a cheaper price. So we will try and make sure that we minimize the under-recovery that happens on account of fuel.
Mr. Sardana, therefore, do you see that plant becoming profitable at a net level sometime soon because of all the steps you all are taking? And separately, another company that went in for these UMPP, Adani, is actually looking to sell its plant, and we believe that they've approached the GUVNL for it. Would you ever think of that kind of an option?
All options are being pursued. All options are open to us. We very clearly would look at the possibility of making sure that we don't have sustained losses on account of Mundra UMPP alone, though on a hedged basis, it will still work well. Also make sure that we have a sustainable operations from this plant, because this is one of the most competitive plants in the globe. And therefore, the consumer must continue to have the benefit. We must continue to provide power. We will therefore even look at the option if the procurers were willing to buy and compensate us for the under-recovery, in which case they will have the benefit as promoters to increase value of the plant, as also pursue the plant after 20 years of the remaining life of PPA, because after 20 years, they will still get the cheapest power.
Yeah, but that
Otherwise,
means
they will have to pay the market price at that time.
Fair point, sir. But that means both for you and for Adani, the potential acquirer has to be GUVNL. Are they showing that interest?
In our case, it is 5 procurers. So GUVNL is not the lone procurer. In our case, it's also Maharashtra, it's also Punjab, Haryana and Rajasthan. And 5 procurers between themselves will have to therefore, in proportion of their offtake, become 51% promoters.
Okay. Is that, I mean, can you update us? Some progress has been made in these conversations?
At this stage, these are all parlance that are happening, and so is also the option to go back to CRC is being considered. So at this stage, we are more in sort of exploratory mode, and the convergence would happen over a period of perhaps next 6 months to a year.
Okay, so what